Welcome to Decades, hosted by Chris Rubio. Decades is a show made up of 5 generations of people brought together to discuss topics you wouldn't normally talk about with others. The goal of the show is to learn by having some good, possibly heated discussions, without losing the simple fact that it's okay to talk to different people with different opinions other than your own.
Welcome, everybody, to our second episode of Decades Live, Light and Chill. Light and Chill because, Mr. Rubio is Mr. Spicy, and I am more chill one of our duos. So one big family, 2 separate brands, kind of just bringing it to us every Tuesday here on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all the major media. Eventually, hopefully, if we can get 1,000 followers, or I can get 1,000 followers, and we get 1,000 followers on TikTok, we can go live on TikTok. So spread the word about us, everybody. Also, before we get started, I got to give a shout out to my St. Joe Hawks. Beat Villanova. It was a good game. We played strong. Shout out to everybody up on 54th and City Line. Beating Villanova is like the Redskins beating the Cowboys. It's nice. If you win that game, really, rest of the season matters. But there's a certain rivalry that has existed through the ages for that, and Jim and I were privileged enough to live it for 4 years as basketball managers, and Jim is the Hawk, so it was a good time. Very exciting.
If the Redskins don't beat the Cowboys this year, they got issues.
Right, but see, I got a great week coming up because in 2 days.
Oh, I know
they're going to lose.
Are you scared?
No,
they're going to lose.
Battle for first place. We're going strong.
It's going to be a good game.
But anyway, as always, we have on our here. You have me, Sub 60 Ed hosting. We got the crazy man, Alex on Tech, aka Gru. We got the nature boy, Jim Scrano, and we've got a new face here from the F3 Nation. It's awesome to have you here with us, Wes. I know you came via Jim the Nature Boy. I'm sorry to hear that, but so glad to see you here nonetheless. If you don't mind, and Brian Jodis, part of our family here at the Mission, is also part of the F3 Nation. Shout out to Brian and shout out to the F3 Nation. Les, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do, or whatever you want to share with us. And the 3 people that are watching us now and probably one of them is my mother. So you can probably just go ahead and
Say, hey, Mom.
Yes, there you go.
So my name is Wes Connell. I live in the Charlotte, North Carolina region. I'm actually in South Carolina. So Jim heard about me from the F3 Stuff Worth Trying podcast, which is a little bit of everything in the F3 Nation world. And so I was on there sharing about the F3 mental battle. And what that is an effort by myself to raise awareness about men's suicide, to prevent suicide. On average, 22 veterans, commit suicide in this country every day. And it's probably that same number for civilians as well. So, of course we can't prevent every single one, but if we save one life, that's worth it. That's what I do in the F3 Nation. Besides try to keep up with all these young guys working out. But by day I'm a banker, and on my weekends and free time, I'm a roller coaster and amusement park enthusiast.
Oh, really? How many roller coasters?
Drop thrill.
How many roller coasters have you ridden? I mean, have you done a lot throughout the whole country?
Depends on how. Jim's already heard the number. So 442 different roller coasters at this point.
No way.
Yeah.
Is there any of those in Ed Ride?
No, probably not. Some of them I can. Whoa. Some of them I can. You know what?
Alan's filling in for Rubio.
Corner.
And Wes, just so you know, Alan lives in my neighborhood, and he's my one friend in the neighborhood, so that's why I let him come along. So no, but
And
400.
that's my free
Wow.
parking.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Wes, I have a question for you. Are you a veteran?
I'm not. No.
No. Okay.
I had a family member who retired from the Air Force, Kevin, and sadly he passed away not due to active duty or anything. Unfortunately, a deer got in his way on his bike one
Oh,
day,
no.
a motorcycle one day.
Oh, no way.
But
Oh,
yeah, he had retired and moved to um, Florence, South Carolina, not Florence, wherever the Air Force Base in South Carolina. I can't think of it right
Yeah.
now.
Okay. Mhm.
But anyway, yeah, sadly he passed away a year or two ago. But yeah, so I mean, I have a bigger, big heart for the military for sure.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
the F3 mental battle workout, is that follow kind of the format of a regular F3 workout, but it adds something different?
Yeah, so a little over 5 years ago, a couple of guys from Louisville, Kentucky, they just started the first workout, the first mental battle workout. One of those guys actually lost a friend, real close friend to his, due to suicide. And so the idea was just to do a workout every March to remember his friend that passed away. And I had been in F3 5 years. I've been in there 10 years now. And the idea, it came to me that's like, well, can we continue this on and keep doing it? And they're like, yeah, take it and run it if you want to. So it started out just as a workout, and then it's become more, we're on Instagram, on Twitter, or X, excuse me, X, and
Yeah,
and
see
I'm
a lot
still
of
getting
money.
used to that. But anyway, it's just raising awareness. I'm looking at actually doing some training myself about mental health, and just whatever I can do to raise awareness.
Hey Wes, could you do me a favor for the people who are watching now and will watch hopefully in the future episodes or on a clip? Just briefly explain to them what F3 is, because they might not know that. And not that we have a following of any magnitude, but every little bit helps.
Sure.
One person tells another person, next thing you know, you have an explosion. So if you wouldn't mind.
Sure, I would not mind at all. So I'm gonna get really nervous and mess it up here.
No,
So
go ahead. You
F3
got just informal.
not.
It's
no,
like
no,
I
no,
said.
no.
Like I said, the million people aren't watching yet, so you only
Yeah,
have
I know.
7.
So the mission of F3 is to plant, grow, and serve small workout groups for the invigoration of male community leadership. And basically that, we're a leadership training organization that's all volunteer based. It's disguised as a CrossFit community, basically. So most of the workouts are like CrossFit type workouts. Some are like running, some gear, all that sort of thing. But the goal is to help men become better leaders in their home, in their community, in their nation.
So
That's great.
Wes, the 3 F's are fitness, fellowship, and faith, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah. And faith is not limited to any one particular belief or religion. F3 is accepting of all men.
Right. The faith for F3 is thinking about something greater than yourselves, that you're not the center of the universe. And it, while especially in the Southeast, we tend to be more on the Christian, Judeo-Christian side of things, and tend to end with we call it the circle of trust. We tend to end with a prayer. However, like the guys up in the Northwest and the, California regions and things like that, that's not so much their bag, and that's fine. And they tend to end with like a positive thought for the day or something to think about. So, again, we're not promoting one religion over another, and it's not even a religious organization.
Yeah.
But but that kind of I'll call faith-based, or that whether you say a positive thought or whatever, that brings people together, some kind of bond. And I think, as we know, we need more of that in today's society with, what the struggles that we're seeing and suicide, as you were quoting suicide rates, Wes, that's one of the reasons we also wanted to spin off kind of, or do this this episode of Decades as a kind of a light and chill. We wanted to make sure we were addressing men's mental health because, as Jim probably shared with you, or maybe he didn't, because I don't want to make him feel bad if he didn't.
I shared.
Yeah, when we first started the show 2 years ago, one of our original members took his own life.
I did not share that.
Oh, you didn't share that?
No.
Okay. What did you share? Now I'm curious what you shared.
I shared a lot, but I couldn't. It was, I had to let Wes go. You know how I am, man.
Yeah. No, but
I had some things he had to get to.
So mental health, men's mental health, suicide prevention. We also have Craig Haddam, who is part of our decade panelists, Decadians. We call you guys. He's part of our organization. He's a world leader in how would you describe? I don't want to say suicide. It's not prevention, but it's intervention,
training, suicide prevention training.
But he also does a lot of intervention as well. He's just got a whole shit ton of things in his tool, and when the shit gets real and somebody needs help, he's the guy they call at all hours.
Mm-hmm.
Ex-military. But it's my whole point to that is that this is a very important topic to us, and there's a lot of important topics, and we can't cover them all in an hour. So that's kind of why we kind of decided to make this one a little bit more about that. Jimmy the Nature Boy, you had a couple good ideas that you sent to me. Do you remember what they were with topics with regards to mental health? Since you like to be sometimes like the host, I figured I was going to. I toss it out to you. Since Alex and Alan haven't really talked yet, I figured you can kick us off, and then we'll go to Alex or Alan to see what they have to say.
I do remember at least one of the three being.
Let's go with one. One's good.
What are your? And I think I put a number on it, but that doesn't have to be a number. Like, what are your top 3 obstacles, say, that interfere with your ability to maintain, emotional and mental balance?
Well, for me personally, I can share real quickly my own story from last year. So I've got asthma, and I've had to deal with that for quite a few years now. Last year, through just a series of events health-wise, I ended up in the hospital twice last year, and I ended up being in behavioral health the second time because I was not sleeping. I was suicidal. I tried to, end my life by suicide. And this is from the guy that's at F3 trying to prevent suicide. So you can tell it got really dark really fast. But for me, like F3, the workouts, I typically work out about 2 to 3 days a week. And then I walk some days and other, yoga, that type of thing. But for me, the physical part and the spiritual part are what kind of keep me in balance. Keep the brain in a good state. Nutrition goes a long way. All those sort of things, keep me in a good place.
So Wes, what are the biggest obstacles or hurdles that interfere with that goal or progress or line of thinking?
Stress for one thing. If I let stress take over, and if I'm not working out, if I'm not doing the positive things that I do on a normal basis, all those things will sort of snowball to the point where I'm in a bad mental state.
Alex, how about you to the same question? What are your hurdles, or what do you got?
Well, my hurdles probably would be worrying about my family, my mom who is 92, her health, and my sister who is disabled, who lives with my mom who is 66, and I, help them out, try to do as much as I can, but it's always hard to find time between work and and both of my kids live in New York, and always there's a worry about them, being young, girls living in New York, on their own kind of thing, But I'm trying to stay positive, basically by, again, exercising, walking and, trying to stay busy. And basically that's my, path to staying positive. Okay.
Excellent. That's good. That's that's a whole nother topic. And whether your kids are away at school, like I think Jim's kids are,
Yeah.
or your kids are in New York, across the country. I have a daughter who lives 40 minutes away. That's a whole nother kettle of fish. But crazy man, I know you have a lot to say. I know you've had a tough 24 hours for various reasons. Some just kind of accidentally, some maybe not. Would you like to share with the team or with everybody here in the seven
I would
watching?
agree with everyone. It's like life gets in the way, and as some of you guys do, and Wes, I do a lot of obstacle course racing. I do go rucks. I work with Operation Enduring Warrior with some of our honorees. So for me, exercising is to train just not your body physically, but also mentally. And when life gets in the way, such as work, being understaffed in the education field, you're working longer than you should or you want to. What Ed is getting to is
what happened to you, Alan? What happened?
Oh, hold on. Let me toss this out. Yesterday, early afternoon, I got a life alert from Alan's phone.
Life alert?
That he's fallen and can't get up or something. And I sat there and I said, oh, wow, this is some kind of bogus thing. And then I said, oh, I better not think that because maybe it's not. Alan, okay, no. now that I've set the table, why don't you lay out the garnishments?
Yesterday morning, we were at a Veterans Day in the gym. I had my phone blowing up with all these different numbers. Didn't know them. I just closed them off. Ed texted me. My wife called me. Then I get a call to the office. So I go there and I have a Loudoun County deputy on the phone for me. And he was checking to see if I was all right. I have Life 360 on my cell phone for like my daughter, for my wife and myself, especially when I go out rucking 15, 20 miles. My wife knows that if I'm moving, I'm still good. If I rest too long, there might be a problem. Well, somehow I accidentally turned it on, the SOS.
Oh,
wow. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I didn't even know that was a feature.
Yes, there is a feature. Besides the crash detection, there is an SOS. And somehow I accidentally turned it on. So it went from everywhere, multiple people in Virginia. I had some people up in Pennsylvania checking with my wife to see if I was all right. So it was sort of kind of embarrassing because it was that the deputy said, good, I'm glad you're okay, because we have a few cop cars about ready to roll in. So I'm like, oh,
yeah, they were coming in.
I'm good.
Talk to Alan with
So
extreme prejudice.
Yes, so that was the excitement. Plus, we had multiple days off for students to do end of the year, end of the quarter, marking periods, conferences, and so forth. So we had a bunch of kids out for the additional 4 days plus the weekend. And when they came back on Monday, they were totally off the chart. So yeah, it was a very wonderful day.
Oh,
Yeah.
Excuse me.
As my friend Chris says, it's agreed. It
does
work,
it does work.
Does work. That's
so do you set that feature up where you put in certain numbers that get the SOS, or how does it know?
No, actually, when you open up the app, there's a button that all you have to do is hit SOS. It's that simple. So I had friends that have purchased it for their daughter, and she actually wrecked her car on a back road. And she wasn't able to do anything, and the parents were able to send police and so forth to where her location was.
Okay.
So the whole thing, living in Northern Virginia, people drive like idiots, not paying attention. And if she's on a back road, it's one way to make sure that she's protected.
Sure.
But it also gives my wife a peace of mind when I'm out at night through the community trying for my training. And if something happens,
like you're mauled by a cougar or some kind of wild deer gets you.
Wild deer. A wild deer, not a tame deer, a wild deer.
Wild deer. That's because
I'm too old to be around with those cougars.
He does he's done 65-mile rucks. 60,
no, we have Life 360 too. I mean, I like it for the kids. You know what I mean? No, they don't necessarily like it, but there's no hiding anymore. You can't, lie to your parents and say you're going to the movies or bowling and you end up at wherever.
Well, yeah, you can. Actually, Alan and I were figuring that out. Was it last night? No, the night before. How we used to all say, John was at Joe's house. I was at Joe's house. Joe was at my house. And you go around the circle. So you just have to drop off the phones at each relative house.
Yeah, the kids don't do that. They don't part from their phone. No.
What's that? No, that's.
What'd you say?
So Alan, so what is back to Jim, the Danger Boy's question that he's posed to all of us? What are your hurdles? What are obstacles in your? I know you said life, but what it's got to be. It's got to be more than that in the sense that
there's
what else do we have?
We have life around us every day, work and so forth. Coming back from injuries, you have that mentality of, if I do this, will I hurt myself? That's where you start to second guess yourself. At the beginning of, as some of you guys know, especially Ed, at the beginning of the year, my work life got so bad, I started developing anxiety. And I would be on some of these courses that I've done hundreds of times over the last 10 years, and I'm shaking. Not just because I forgot to take my medicine prior to that, but still something that is relaxing for me, challenging me, is that I go through what some of our honorees have to do on the course when we're supporting them. So it kind of works in my favor of knowing what they have to hurdle. So I get to feel what they have to do each and every day, coming back from PTSD, missing a limb, TBI. They could be, as some like Wes said, they've tried to take their own lives. So those hurdles is trying to be the best version of myself, and to also be honest to myself, and being able to talk to people, making sure that I don't feel, quote unquote, the stigma of men are supposed to be the strongest one in the group. But you have to be able to talk to somebody if you're feeling certain parts. Each and every day, we text back and forth, Ed, either jabbing each other or checking up on each other, as well as checking up on people up and down that I've met through OEW, checking up on some honorees, seeing how they're doing, making sure that they're doing well. Just living up to what people think you are able to do mentally and physically. And we're going to figure that one out this spring.
Yes, Alan and I are the two friends, if you've ever seen the memes on Instagram or TikTok that say, yeah, you're not a good friend unless I'm sending you 17 Instagram posts or memes or whatever an hour. And I sent them for that. And I said, you know what? That's us. That's what we do. It's good stuff. And what I've noticed is I follow a couple groups on Instagram, and they're dad related, they're men related, a couple guys out there that are making dad and men posts, and there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain out there that is not, because it's real. It was astonishing to me to some extent. We talk about it here in this group in decades, through what we've done, but it was really astonishing. I've made some posts where, basically stay strong, stay strong, Kings. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep moving forward, And I had a guy post to me, goes, sub 60, I got nobody. And that's, first of all, that is total vulnerability. One man admitting to another man that he's got nobody, and to a man he doesn't even know. Think about that for a second. We're on the internet. What we're saying is being broadcast live, and it'll be stored so people will be able to see this. But this guy actually said to me, he's in such pain that he was basically in that way basically calling me BS on my comment. And I looked at him. I said, "Hey," I didn't look at him. I looked at him metaphorically, and I responded back, and I said, "You know what, man? I hear you, and I know what you're talking about." I said, you don't know me from Adam. I don't know you from Adam. We're both dudes. I said, I don't have all the answers by any means, but I got 2 ears and 2 eyes to hear and read. And if you need anybody, come to, send me something, DM me, we can talk. And I think personally, in this social media age where we're at, we have to have, like in those groups, we almost have to have more of that, more of this kind of stuff. We can have the other stuff, but I think there's a lot of guys hurting that are out there that don't have that, because really, think about it. If you were truly honest with yourself, anybody watching and the guys here, if you were really struggling, how easy would it be to go to, go to Alan? I've known Alan 20 plus years, and we're not neighbors. We live a quarter mile away, but no, we're close enough. It would still be hard for me if I was really struggling to go to him, just because of the male ego, and those are the kind of things I probably would eventually, but I would have to it wouldn't be a snap decision. And I think there are a lot of guys that are either that, even knowing that, they don't have that, plus they don't have an Allen, they don't have a Jim. You Scrano, I was just looking at that. Don't feel bad, Jim. I know I've known you longer.
No, I don't feel bad.
I don't want you to start crying on me. I'd come to you too. I'd come to you.
It's my eye disease.
When Alan doesn't pick up the phone, I'll be like, "Oh no, Jim, you were the first coming to you." Yeah, having this trouble.
It's not a contest. Yeah. Definitely not.
No,
well, and it just
go ahead, Wes.
It just brings to mind that the whole credo of F3 is leave no man behind, but leave no man where you found him. And I know that when they wrote that, or when they came up with that, it was more like the physical side of things, like in a workout. But I think it's become a whole lot more than that. When they sort of did some restructuring F3, I went to the leaders and I said, is mental battle really what you want, to be on the COT podcast and the Circle of Trust podcast? And they're like, of course we want it on there, because like that's part of the credo, is like to leave no man behind physically, because there is a crisis of isolation. And I see it more and more with the younger generation, because they're on these things all day long. They're not actually looking somebody in the eye and actually having a conversation. I serve in production at my church, and it's like the younger generation, you can almost tell that they're like shocked that somebody actually looks in the eye, has a conversation, and actually is interested. And I've had some reaction of people like, you're just very whatever. And I'm just like, it's because I'm actually sitting there and look at you in the eye and say, you're important to me. You matter to me. You have worth and value.
Yeah. It's almost like you're being genuine, and your genuinity. Is that a word? No, I'm not. I'm drinking tea. that it almost comes off as being disingenuine to them because they don't get that enough. Like I see that, and Alan can attest to that in education, working with youth. Like when you sit there and listen to them, and that's all they really want. They just want somebody to listen to them and show that you care and you're offering some love, you know.
I'm gonna come back to that in a second. I want to get Alex's point on it, but I have a question for you on that, and Jim and Crazy Man, with regards to the Utes of today. Anybody know what that line's from? The Utes, the two Utes. The who? The two Utes.
Genesis.
So it's that. No, it's a movie. The two Utes. So what is it? It's with
Ed, while you're thinking of that, can I answer the question?
No, I want Alex. I want Alex's thought. Alex gets it because Alex sits back and quiet, and I need to make sure he gets his.
I know. I just wanted to give up my obstacles or hurdles that I have too, but that's fine.
Yeah, you can come back next.
Okay. Hey, my sister Wes. She's one of our regulars.
Joe Pesky.
Joe Pesky. Go ahead, Alex. What are your thoughts on that?
Is it my cousin Vinny?
Yeah.
My cousin Vinny. Thank you. See, I'm getting old. It's probably all the aspartame I've been drinking over the years, giving me early stages of dementia. Yes, Alex. So your thoughts on this?
My thoughts on what exactly? Sorry.
What we were just talking about. Or if you don't have,
can you go to? Do you have somebody that you go to? Could you have gone to somebody?
Yeah. Could you go,
younger age?
Who could you? Do you have a go-to guy? Do you have anybody you could go to, even if you had to kick yourself in the ass to go to him? Like you could say, huh?
Yeah, I kind of have a friend who used to live here in California, and then he bought a body shop in northern New Jersey, and we talk maybe a few times a month because he's busy running his body shop, and according to him, people drive like crazy in New Jersey. You know, people who grew up in New York, never drove a car, and then they buy a house, get a family, move to Jersey, and start driving it there in their stories, and then they crash cars like every other day. Okay, so and he has a lot of clients, a lot of job because of people who kind of know wise at driving in their stories. It's kind of crazy. In California, where it drives like probably 16 and a half, everybody gets a driver license and drives because, it's easier to get around, in a car than without a car in California for the most part.
Right.
So, but we talk about different things. I call him, sometimes he calls me. We talk about politics and family and other things. I mean, he probably would be my go-to guy. If I have some kind of a mental crisis or somebody to talk to. I know he would not judge me, and I would not judge him. If he shares some struggles with me, and I can. I haven't done it yet, but I'm pretty sure I can, if need be.
But that's great, Alex. That's and somehow, and I don't know if it's even possible, but as I tell people, you have to start acting. If something doesn't exist, somebody's got to be the first to start the idea, whether it's a third-party candidate, whether it's somebody to talk to or what have you. You have to kind of think about things. So we have to find a place for these men and probably women and young men and young teens and women, especially in today's political climate. But what I wanted to ask Jim, and actually ask all of you guys, Jim, you made the comment about Wes giving eye contact to his people in the church, and you're saying like they don't get it. Now, is it the eye contact, or do they just want to hear? And I'm asking this from a place of wanting to understand. Do they want to hear what they want to hear, or are they willing to listen to what you have to say, even if it's not what they want to hear? You need to do this or this. No, not to say you have to be better, but just where it's not like, oh, you're so great. Oh, where we're kind of hand holding them.
You want me to answer that?
Yeah. Well, you were out. Anybody actually, but you started it, so I figured I'd let you go with it.
In my position in the school as a school counselor, previously known as guidance counselors, and I don't know why they changed the name, but whatever.
What do you call it now?
School counselor. Yeah.
So you're counseling the school?
No, we work in a school and we're a counselor.
Oh, I thought I thought the school came to you and said, "Hey, I need some help."
Well, sometimes they do, but as far as
are they third person? They identify third person now as the schools are they them.
this is a very serious topic. I need you to be serious about this.
Okay, sorry. Oh, wow, I just got. Yes, sir. Yes,
By the
sir,
way,
yes,
my
sir,
go-to.
Mr.
I
Strano.
haven't had a chance to answer any of the questions, by the way. But my go-to guy is actually a girl, and I'm not saying this just because she's watching, but my sister Gloria is my go-to for who I can.
Of course she is. I could have
dump
told you that. That's probably
Yeah.
that's a good go-to, Jim.
But, and I kind of I'm sharing this not only for the however many viewers are out there, but Wes as well. I shared with him that I lost my oldest brother, John, back in 2011. And I actually became close with his friends, his close friends, and one of who I thought might be out there watching tonight, friend of mine, Bill. We connect all the time, so it's interesting how life circumstances will bring people together. That's not how I would, have wanted it. But anyway, as far as kids, like my job is more to be a listener than an advice giver. I do give advice, but I think they want to be heard. They just, all kids, and Alan, maybe you can agree to this, all kids and even all humans require a certain amount of attention. Some of our kids in school require way more than others, usually depending on their home circumstances. And when you give them an opportunity to sit down with you one-on-one, or even in a small group, if there's other students, peers there as well, because we do some group counseling sessions, they love to just be able to talk and be heard. And Craig Hannum would also use that training and advice if you are dealing with somebody in a mental health crisis, to just sit back and validate feelings. That's a big one,
Yes.
and let them vent or tell their story or whatever it is that they want to offer to you, and you have to, obviously, it's easy for me. Like I learned under somebody that didn't always do it the best. Like that particular person sometimes would peck at their computer while they were listening, and I kind of found that to be a little bit awkward or strange. Like you need to get them to understand that you're there and you're attentive and you're listening. Like that alone is a very difficult skill, I think, for people, especially our youth, the skill of listening. Like they just aren't able to do that, So
right, because I actually saw something really interesting online. Guy was talking about the phone. It was one of the famous speakers. I forget the guy's name. He's basically saying, he holds up the phone. He goes, "This is your number one distraction. This is, when I'm talking to you," and he was using like the general I. He goes, "I want to be the most important thing that you're listening to. And if you have this on your table, he goes, if you have it on the table, you're not."
Right.
Because you're waiting for the buzz. He took it one step further, which I thought was really interesting. He goes, even we all do this, I'm sure. You turn it upside down, you put it on your table or your desk or wherever. He goes, no. You're still waiting for the buzz. It's still there. Its presence is there. When you're talking with somebody, put it away in a pocket, get it off the table, out of sight. Then you can be full. And I think that's, to your point, Jim, I think, they want to be listened to and they want to be heard without distraction.
The other thing that I think creates a strong connection is when you yourself, you mentioned it earlier about vulnerability, and when you share something personal. And when I was in my master's courses, I remember one of the professors, we were discussing that, like as a counselor, like, would you share something personal from your life? And that particular professor was like, "Oh no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't, I am completely the opposite. Like I'm completely transparent and I show vulnerability, and the kids, they need to see you as a human being, you know, not just some staff member that's, you know, there to just punch the ticket and put in their 8 hours. I mean, it's
Right.
I don't know. But as far as obstacles go, and for me, it's changed over the years. Like, I got better at self-reflection and introspection and not being as hard on myself. You know, I think there was years where I was my own worst critic, and I had to give myself a break, you know, and tell myself self-talk is very helpful. And
Yes, I agree.
you have
Yeah.
to tell yourself you're doing a good job, man. You know,
Yes.
give yourself a break, you know. But like Wes and Alan and Alex all commented, like for me, I kind of see the balance having to come in 3 areas. You know, you got your physical health and well-being, you got your mental emotional state, and then you got your spiritual or faith-based, you know. And I would say that, like Alan and Ed, we've talked about this before. When you get older and you have physical limitations or you have
Right.
herniations and this and that, you know, Wes, I do not work out with F3 2 or 3 times a week. I wish I could or would. I struggle to get there every Saturday, and that's usually my goal. And honestly, I go more for the fellowship and faith and the coffee time than I do the fitness, because the fitness is tough and it's early morning. And but it's like anything else. When you do it, you reap those benefits and you just feel
Right.
so much better. And you're like, why don't I do this more? Why can't I be more committed to it? So I'm always struggling keeping that balance. Personally, I need to be a little stronger with my faith, I think, you know, and I think that they all support each other. So
Yeah.
if you don't take care of your body, your mind's going to really struggle, you know.
Yeah.
And I believe a lot of what the MD and the chef have to say. Wes, that's another podcast of a couple that's in our organization, and they constantly talk about brain health and feeding your body to support your brain health and how that affects your mental and emotional side. So, yep.
So
All right, Ed,
long-
sorry, I rambled.
No, you don't ramble. No, it's good. That's what we're doing. Alan, crazy man, you want to touch on the whole school thing, kind of piggyback off what Jim said? Are you good? Because we'll roll on.
I think Jim's right. You have to show students that you're human as well, and you make that connection. If you make the connection, you get the buy-in from those kids.
Yeah.
So like when I taught sixth, 7th, and 8th grade in middle school, if I had the kids in 6th grade and they knew who I was, they would be able to say, hey, I'm having this and that. So they will find somebody that they trust to make that connection, because they may not have it at home, because I worked in a Title I school. So both parents were working their butts off so they can make a better life for their family. And the kids didn't have anything to talk to. Either they hopefully would find somebody in the building to talk to, or they had MS 13th and Latino Kings right around the corner. So you're definitely trying to make that impression with the kids, going, there's a better life out there. And I think with our society is that our society tells them that you can be anything you want as of now. You can do anything you want. But when we went to school, you can do anything you want if you put the work in. And a lot of these kids want the glory, want the gold, want the fame, but they don't want to put the work in. And I think if you watch these athletes on TV, the kids are seeing the final product of all their hard work.
Yes.
What the NBA Major League Baseball, any professional sports, they need to show some of these athletes at the beginning or even when they're in college, how many hours they are working, just not in schoolwork, but on their craft. So it takes a lot of time for these people, for these individuals to make it into professional sports. And that's unfortunately, the kids are seeing the after product and they're going, oh, I can do this. And since I worked with special needs or special education students, they would always have, what do you want to do when you graduate high school? I want to be a football player or a basketball player. Oh, that's great. What's your backup plan? Let's have a backup plan to that, just in case you don't make it. Because we all gone through college. Some of us went through college and wasn't our original path that we took. We've had to take detours. And to talk about that with somebody that you find trustworthy in the building, you've made your mark on that individual. To piggyback on what you were saying earlier, who do you call? I mean, I think it boils down to where you grew up and your home environment.
Amen.
I grew up in Pennsylvania, single parent for a while, but I had a network of friends, and you would do anything for them. And unfortunately, I have had 2 of them pass away out of the 5. So my wife always knew that if I had a phone call, let's say Ed called me and he's on the West Coast, I'm on a plane. I don't even ask, let me check. I'm gone, because we had that loyalty. And I think loyalty among friends is gone. It's lost as of now, because the kids are more important. As Wes said, they look for their likes, their ha ha ha. And if they don't get it, they wonder what's wrong with me. And there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
It's that this is a drug. And if you have to have an ID to buy cigarettes, to buy alcohol, to buy anything, these kids need to also have ID to use a phone, because it can be addicting and it has the same addicting features.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And that's actually a lot of the stuff that you and I were chatting about the other night, just sitting around in the garage for BS. And I'm not sure. I don't know. My kids are older. I don't know if the kids kind of just, I mean, we used to go to my friend's basement down the street, and that's where we hung out. And this gets me to another point, actually 2 points. One, I guess that's why in school, when I said I wanted to be a basketball player, they said, well, what do you think your second option is? How about you think about business? Maybe business would be good for you instead of basketball. Okay, I really thought that was going to get more laughs. I'm really disappointed that Jim Wes I can, because most guys are going to be conservative, but the fact that Alex and Jim basically
I didn't know whether you were serious.
He actually wanted to be the basketball.
I was just yes. Go ahead, Alex. I'm done.
Well, I want to add to what just Alan said about people in sports and being great and making all this money.
Yes.
I think it's important, basically for all the major networks that show those great games, whether it's basketball, hockey, soccer, or baseball, to also show how hard it is to train. Okay, those trainings and where they sweat and bleed, and basically how they become those great, Wayne Gretzky's and Michael Jordans and baseball players or Ronaldo's of the world, because otherwise people say, oh yeah, I'm gonna be Ronaldo. But some people actually, I believe some people have some kind of God-given talent to play basketball, to play soccer, to play hockey. And some people actually need to train their butts off, to be as good as or as close as the great ones. And also a lot of people who were making millions, during their careers in sport, they become broke immediately after because they didn't have a backup plan. Okay, they didn't
Right.
know what to do as soon as they get injured or age-wise they
Yeah.
cannot perform as well as, and what to do next. They become alcoholics or they become broke, and then they basically end up like Mike Tyson for a while, being broken he used to owe like $10 million to the IRS, although he was making 50 million every bout that he won. Okay, if you're not controlling your spending and you let everybody basically manage your accounts, without checking, you actually get in a dark place.
But in
Yeah.
addition to the pipe dream of I want to play in the NFL, which Alan, I work with both special ed and regular ed, and it's across the board, especially with our boys, our males. Where I'm going to go to the NFL, and they truly believe it. But in addition to that, now you got I'm going to be a YouTuber or I'm going to be a gamer.
Oh, right.
So
Yeah,
now
right,
there's
yeah.
there's multiple ways to, in their mind, just make it without really having to do any work. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
Wes,
it's
what are your
crazy.
thoughts on this? What do you
Yeah, I
think?
was gonna. So my pastor is Dr. Derwin Gray. He played for the NFL. I think 6 or 7 years. He played for the Colts most of that time. They ended up moving to Charlotte and played, I think, 3 games with the Panthers, and then got injured by Dallas. If you hate Dallas, then we can all hate them together.
I hate Dallas. Yes, I
Good.
hate
We're
Dallas.
we're in agreement. But anyway, he's talked about kids that will come to him and say, I want to be an NFL star, I want to be a NBA player, and he's like, well, what are you doing to practice? And they're always like, well, and he's shared his story, and he came from the inner city of the poor side of San Antonio, Texas, and he had to work. He had to work very hard, and he worked hard, and then got it to a high school that was a very high end, or not high end, high quality football program, and then went to BYU, and then went to the Colts. But it wasn't because he was just like a superstar he had to work at it,
Mhm.
and in F3 we talk about resilience a lot, and in the mental battle as well. People don't have a lot of resilience. People, I mean, I'm guilty of it as well, but it's easy to get emotional about something and not like dig into anything and work for things. It our Joyce Myers talked a lot about the fact that people go to work and they expect to get 2 weeks of vacation immediately, whereas in our generation, you might get 1 week of vacation your
Yeah.
first year of work, and then you actually had to earn things. So I think there's a lot to be said for that.
You're absolutely right about the resilience part too.
Yeah,
I
that's a
think
great part.
that's something that's not very common amongst a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Great topic so far. I'd like to kind of we're at 52 minutes. We like to try to keep it in an hour because then I can post this on Instagram. If it's an hour or less. So how I'd like to finish up, since we've stayed on this mental health thing, which is great, and this is why we're here. What is your when you're struggling? I mean, just like Alan, we're having a bad day, or you're just having a bad day, and you're not anything. It's just a bad day. What brings you out of your bad day funk, your bad mental space, whatever you want to call it? What brings you out the best? What is your go-to? Wes, you're the new guy. I'm going to call on you first. What's your go-to to get you out of whatever funk? It might be 2 things.
Yeah.
But whatever your funk is.
This will be very shocking. So, a guy named Drop Thrill, amusement parks are my thing. It's like our local park is called Carowinds, which is
I'm familiar. I've heard of it.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, if I'm in a really bad mood and it's the middle of summer, I'm going to go there. I'm also a pinball junkie, so I like to go play pinball, and that will really take my mind off whatever, because you've got to do total focus for pinball. There's
Very
not
true.
a whole lot of times to be emotional when you're playing pinball. But stuff like that are good ways to kind of do a reset. I'm also a big music fan. If you can't tell from the back behind me, I've got the Beatles behind me there. So I'm a big music person, and a lot of times music will take me out of the funk.
Beautiful. That's awesome. I was going to actually I did notice that one Beatles picture. I was going to mention it, but I just haven't had time. Nice job, Alex. What's your go-to to get you out of the funk?
Well, I also a big music fan. I mean, like Wes, I like the Doors, Jim Morrison. I can listen to his music, day in and day out. I mean, he has so many different good tunes, and regardless of what state of mind I mean, I can find one of his songs that actually, picks me up and gets me going. Also, I go to my self-defense class at least 2-3 times a week, to learn how to defend myself and my family, since I cannot conceal carry or open carry in California. That's my open carry, my legs and my arms, okay, and my palms, okay.
There you go. There you go.
And also, if I have nowhere to go and I don't need to drive, I can, on occasion, I can smoke a cigar and drink beer and whiskey, kind of in moderation. Okay, so.
I was going to say in moderation. All right, we always add that here for everybody. On Decades, we say you can have a drink, whiskey, beer in moderation. Moderation is everything. Moderation is key.
Yeah. Hey, too much of a good stuff isn't good for you.
Yes.
Yes, Hector. That is a good one. Well, if your kids are younger like yours are, especially with your boy starting the wrestling season gearing up, that's going to be some good stuff there. And your daughter does a lot with the soccer as well. So good stuff. Mr. Cole, Crazy Man, what can you share with the rest of our public?
I throw in the tunes, I'll throw on the rucksack on, and I just go out in the neighborhood 3-4 hours, even listen to a hockey game while I'm out there. It's one way to decompress from the day. That definitely helps me. Music, and I think going out with the fresh air, getting into a rhythm, and meditate on what has happened, what could have gone differently in some aspects, or just clear the mind and just be a sponge and just jam out.
Awesome. Nature Boy, what say you?
Well, for a really quick fix, like if I come home from work and it was rough, I got the dog. The dog always is a perfect place to start. And then you did nickname me the Nature Boy, so that would be my number one go-to is to go for a walk or a hike out in nature. Sometimes I'll include music, sometimes I won't. If I don't do that, meditation is good. Like especially Guy is one of our brothers in the mission. He kind of turned me on to like listening to different types of beats and tones, Tibetan music, Tibetan healing music, and just kind of, like Alan said, just kind of zoning and clearing the mind. Like I don't always reflect on the day and think about what I could have done differently. I more so just try to clear it out and start with a fresh palette,
Makes sense.
How about you, Ed?
For me, it is the gym. Gym's my happy place. It's where I find peace. It's, as they say, I like to lift heavy metal circles. At the same time, listening to 80s metal, Ozzy Osbourne, all those good. I'm a headbanger whether I'm lifting or not. I was headbanger back in the day, so doing that. Even actually, I found sitting in my new car that has Hair Nation and Ozzy, just listening to some of the tunes brings back those 80s days when we were growing up. It puts me in a mind space that brings back those feelings of that when I was hanging out with my boys. We had no worries, and it was just kind of, we were just, we were kind of doing our thing. Didn't know how good we had it until we sit there in the car and you kind of listen to it.
You never really had long hair though, did you? You never.
No,
really
I've never had long. That's been the whole that's the kind of the whole irony of it all. I've never
Right.
looked the part.
I had a
Um,
mullet, so
Did you have a mullet?
I had a mullet, yeah.
Yeah, one of my best friends in high school had a mullet.
Yeah, I did
Party,
too.
business in the front, party in the back for all you
Yeah.
all you kids watching. Google it. And my other part is I like to just kind of spend a quiet time. It might be just sitting on the sofa, watch, Family Guy's on with it muted. And just like you, Jim, it's not kind of seeing what I could have done better, but just kind of flushing the system, flushing it out, and just kind of saying, okay, tomorrow's a new day. And I'm a huge believer in self-talk. I self-talk to myself a lot. That is what I do.
Positive self-talk.
Yes, positive. Yeah.
Positive self-talk.
No, I sit there and say I'm so stupid.
Well, yeah, there is the other negative self-talk.
Yeah.
You know what that
Anyway,
is.
all right, guys, this is good. Actually, let's go around the room. One closing thought, and then we'll say goodbye for this episode. Wes, as our newest member, why don't you start us off? One thought, feeling, takeaway, whatever you want.
This is probably corny, but we talk about high school days. But I remember one of those kind of corny posters on the wall always said, "If you aim at nothing, you'll hit it." And if you're talking about mental health, physical health, spiritual health, if you don't aim at anything, you're going to hit it.
That's perfect. That wasn't corny at all. That was spot on, brother. That was really good. Alex, what's your closing thought?
Well, when I sometimes I think like dark thoughts come to mind. I always remember that so many people are dependent on me. Okay, and I cannot just leave them hanging, like my mom, my sister, my family. So I kind of it picks me up basically.
Yep. Excellent, Alex. Crazy man.
I think I agree with Alex. It's other people are depending on us, but it can always be worse. Truthfully, be grateful on what you have, not what you don't. Definitely. If you give 110%, you can't ask for anything less at the end of the day.
Excellent.
Yes.
Jimmy.
I would totally agree with what they both said, where you gotta give yourself a break and remember that people are relying on you, but also that I find myself when I complain about little things, I'm like, I don't really have it that bad at all. Like there's people out there with way worse issues, and I always try to make sure I remind myself of that to be grateful, to be very grateful, and to keep a positive mindset. When I find myself swaying more towards the negative, woe is me type thing. Stay positive.
Very good. That's awesome. And I guess for me, it's just everybody remember that, a small step forward is still a step forward, and that where we are today, where you are today is not where you are tomorrow. It's forever changing. You will get out wherever you are, but also remember, quitting is forever. So never quit on yourself. Take that step, even if it's small. Keep moving forward. You're going to get to where you're going. Guys, this was a great episode. Wes, thank you very much for joining us. You're welcomed anytime, my friend. Even though Jim found you, we kind of excuse that. Jimmy, Jim, shout out to Jim. He busts his backside to try to promote this show, and I truly appreciate it for that. I want to give it
if bust my backside is nagging you to do stuff, then I don't know. You give me a little too much credit. I can bust my.
Well, I know I'm trying to.
Jen does that for you.
I'm trying to get you to learn how to do stuff, so you don't have to say it to me. I want to give I want to give out a shout to Hector. He posted a couple messages on. I know he was busy tonight. He had actually texted me that he was probably not going to catch the show. I appreciate him. I appreciate the group we're in for doing that. So thank you guys. And Wes, I don't know if Jim told you, one of the things we do is we always do a cheers, and we always pick a panelist of the show. And you know what? It's going to be you, Wes. You're the panelist of the show. New guy gets it. It's just
Cheers.
just
Wes.
a fun thing. I want to say thanks to everybody. Remember, we're on all the major social medias.
And if I can promote ours real quick,
Go right
Yeah.
ahead.
at F3 Mental Battle on X and Instagram.
Take
Wes,
that
we
down,
also-
everybody.
You're also welcome to hang for a minute after the show's over if you want.
So,
No, not at all.
oh yeah. So everybody, thank you. And next week it will be your favorite Chris Rubio and Decade Spicy. God only knows what the man will be bringing after the 2 weeks of what's going on in the political landscape. Make sure you tune in 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. We are out.